Hello, welcome back. My name's Grandmaster Daniel Gamay. Welcome back to my channel, Hometown Chess Hero. I played in the Scarborough Congress, not for the first time. I played there I think about at least six or seven times, but there might well be tournaments I've forgotten about. I remember one year I drew with Jonathan Hawkins in the final round, and I was like, what a disappointing result. It was like a Grunfeld variation where he played like an early rook c1. You're supposed to put your queen on a3, and I did all the right moves, but then I kind of didn't seal the deal. And then he told me afterwards, oh, you could have done this, you would have been winning. And I was like, who's this kid? Like, he's like 190, and he's seen far more than I'm seeing, which is not normal for like a 190 player. Obviously then went on to be two-time British champion, right? Funny enough, I believe that he's, I don't know if it's correct to say that he's helped my next opponent was Stan Badasconi on occasion. And Stan is a player that I'm not that familiar with, but he's one of these pandemic kids, right? And he basically got very good, I think, through playing a lot of chess online, and he's a very good blitz player. He was leading the Southwest Blitz qualifier with something like 6 out of 6 or some crazy score. He was dominating it. He didn't kind of faded a little bit. But yeah, he's very good at blitz. He's very good at 1 minute as well. He's like 28-20 on Lichess, which is crazy. It's insane. Now you could say that's down to like fast mouse skills and so on, but I think you can't get a 2800 through just having fast mouse skills. So I played Stan Badasconi in the last round, right? And there was actually a little bit of an argument, a discussion about the pairings, because originally they hadn't put the other guy that I drew with, I tied with in the tournament. So this guy, Siraj, into the draw, right? And Tim Wall was due to play against Peter Large. Now, I wasn't aware of this because I wasn't even looking at the pairings. I didn't have my phone with me. I was basically waiting around for 3 hours. I drew quickly with Peter Large. And then I was waiting around for 3 hours, like for the next round, which is crazy, right? Probably should have played on, obviously, if I'd had any balls. But I drew quickly, but my phone didn't have any credit. I couldn't be bothered to add the wireless or do all that, because I wasn't really going to bother to prepare anyway. But yeah, I found out that they did a redraw, which obviously didn't please Tim very much, because he then had to play against somebody that he hadn't prepared for, and he then lost horribly with white. So the pressure was on for me to win, and I played a Torre attack, which I think is a good surprise weapon, actually. And around about here, I thought he would play c5. I thought Stan, it just struck me as a dynamic player. c5 was the kind of move I was expecting him to play. Just kind of, stake your claim, play confidently. I think when he's more experienced, he'll get, the hang of these kind of positions a bit more. It's just, I sensed that he wasn't very experienced in the Torre attack. So it turned out to be a good choice, actually, of opening, because he didn't seem to know the theory that well in the Torre attack. I guess if you take on a5 now, but black can just go queen a5 and regain the pawn, right? So that should be comfortable for black. But he went knight bd7, which is fine. And now I castled. And he played, I was expecting again c5. Another possible plan that black can play is rook e8 and then e5, right? But he played b6, which slightly surprised me. I went c4. This is one of the reasons, possibly in the Torre attack, you should hold back that pawn on c2. If they go for an early c5, you generally respond with c3. But if they don't play an early c5, sometimes c4 can be a good move. And I was expecting to take on c4, and I thought if I take out the bishop, he would then go c5, and the game looks fairly equal. Or possibly put the bishop on b7. But I think he was afraid for the wrong reasons. He was afraid of e4, which I wasn't really going to play. But b5 would have been a good response. And it doesn't seem to me like Notori attack generally sack material like this. Although you can play something like this, you know, ultimately it's 2 pawns, right? You know, I'm taking a big risk there. And that wasn't really, you know, my approach to this game. I was just trying to play a solid game with white and just play positionally. So I think he kind of like shied off that variation for the wrong reason. And also I was expecting maybe bishop b7 was another possible move. He went c6. And I went queen a4. Very nice position already for white. I've got like a good version of an exchange Slav. And I've seen Keith Arkle play these kind of structures as black. Like a Neo Grunfeld, where you kind of, rather than playing c5 in the Grunfeld, or no, in the Slav, sorry, you play g6 and put the bishop on g7. But he's often suffered, I think, against stronger players, or it seems to me that he's got not great positions, or very kind of, you know, it's hard to find a good pawn break for black now, right? Like e5 would always give, well, A, it's hard to play e5, and B, even if you get e5 in, white will then get the d4 square anyway. So very difficult position to play for black already. Yeah, rook c3 was a slight mistake, and he should have exploited that with knight e4, which I misjudged. I thought this was better, but apparently knight f6, the computer thinks that black is okay. And if you want to get this rook c1, rook c7 plan in, you have to take on f6. Otherwise knight d5 will come, and white won't gain access to c7. So I think that was a big miss by my opponent. He should have gone knight e4. He went rook e8. And already the position very, very difficult to play for black. If he goes for something like rook c8, I think I can just take and go a4 and then start to chip away at his queen side. This just looks really unpleasant, right? Or very hard to play. There's also a possibility of going knight b3 at some moment as well. I mean, another move is queen c2 here, but queen c2 can be met with bishop b7. Yeah, queen c2 is also quite unpleasant as well, probably. Queen will come to c7. Really, really hard to play this position. But I would not have envied his position at all. He went knight e4. I think he'd overlooked rook c7. That I didn't need to take on e4 now. I could go rook c7. I sensed Stan was a little bit low on energy. It's very tough to play. You're basically playing 5 games in 2.5 days, right? And I kind of sensed he'd run out of energy a little bit. You know, sometimes you can sense that. And he seemed a bit tired. He looked a bit tired, which is understandable, right? I was very tired. I mean, actually, that quick draw that I had with Peter Large in round 4, actually worked in my favour. You know, it's kind of a strategic decision. It was like, well, drawing with Large, who's like the second seed, in the context of this tournament, is not such a bad choice. In the overall context of the tournament, it was not a bad choice. But on the other hand, I think that's probably partly the reason why I'm only 24-45 is I'm giving people quick draws when I should be battling those games right out to the death, and I think I'd probably win more games than I'd lose in that scenario. If I played on that game against Peter Large, no disrespect to him, but given the position was more or less dead equal, I probably would have won maybe 7 out of 10 out of games that are decisive. You know, most of the time it probably ended in a draw anyway, and he'd probably win 3 out of 10. So I probably should have played on. Anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, so Stan should have taken on f3, relieved some of the pressure, but but it's still very, you know, difficult to play after knight f3. Bishop takes f3 was still a lot better for white. And now a4, and black is in big trouble now. If he takes on a4, I'm going to take out the queen, hit d7. He went with b8. Here there's even moves like g3. It's funny, I was really, like, it's one of these moments. I went queen f1, and I was, like, really impressed with myself. I was like, what a genius I am, Cormally. You're like Bach, you're like Mozart. You're playing the piano, queen f1. It was like or like Simon and Garfunkel, Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Tell her to make me a candlewick shirt. Parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme. Anyway, that was kind of how I was thinking, right? I was like, queen f1, genius move. It looked good to me. I felt like, it was like one of those moves that just felt like it was got. I felt like, it was time. I was thinking it's got to be the top engine move, right? Queen f1. Well, it turns out it wasn't. He actually suggested, Stanley suggested quite rightly in the post-mortem, queen b3 was another possibility, and that the engine prefers queen b3 to my supposed genius queen f1. Although, to be honest, it doesn't really change much. Whatever you play here, the black's position is really, really bad. Strategically speaking, the knight is holding up any kind of pawn break or any kind of consolidating move like e6. So the computer even says that a move like g3 is very good here, and you just wait. What can black actually fundamentally do? Not a lot. Can't really move anything, right? If it moves the knight to f8, well, what then? You still can't move the knight to c7. If you move this knight back to f8, your rook's then stuck on e8. So it's all torture for black already. There's not much to talk about. I thought he might consider knight f8 here and then here. But the problem is white can simply go knight e5, for example, here. Hit the knight. And you're going to win material. Going to win the exchange. So he played rook d6. And now already white is completely winning. I could have taken on d7 and gone queen b5, won a pawn that way. But I decided just to play bishop c6. And I took on b4, so d5 remains very weak. Yeah, I did consider going queen b7 here, but I thought he would take, and then bishop takes. And just grovel on in the endgame in a depressing way. It's a very depressing position to play for black. Especially when he needed to win as well, in theory, because like a draw is only, turned out a draw was only 50 quid, right? Well, obviously, if you'd drawn with me, that would have brought the 350 back into the play. So it would have been more than 50 quid. But it certainly would have been less than what the guy who won it would have won. He would have won 750. I actually had a little bit of a bit of argue with Tim Wall because I was tired. I wasn't thinking straight, and he resigned. Surprising to me, I thought he'd play on a bit. 2 bishops against 2 bishops, but it looked like black was winning a pawn. Position very bad for Tim. He just resigned, and I was like, I went over and I said, "Can't you go king f2 here?" And I tried to say that, and Tim was like, "No, it's not your game. Go away." Sort of thing, which is fair enough, because I shouldn't really have been butting in at that point. I was kind of tired. I wasn't really thinking straight. And trying to put my all in, the great Gormani. So, yeah. But, yeah, unfortunate for Tim. It's very difficult. He was originally paired against somebody else. And then he's suddenly having to play somebody he wasn't expecting to play at all. It's very difficult then to recalibrate and play a good game. He's mentally prepared to play against Peter Large. And now suddenly he's playing against somebody else completely different. It's just unfortunate, just a mistake by the organisers. These things happen. It shouldn't happen, but they will do occasionally. I didn't even know who I was playing until right before the start. I wasn't checking my phone or my tablet. I didn't have my laptop on me that whole weekend. But I assumed I wasn't playing Edward Jackson because he'd already had an up float in round 3. So I thought I must be playing Stan. He's right colour, right sort of rating, right score group. So I assumed that I would definitely be playing him. I thought I couldn't play Jackson, or very unlikely to play Jackson. So I assumed I was playing Stan. I didn't know what he played. But I thought Torre attack's a good choice. Kind of cuts out the dynamic choices. So yeah, the game continued even from here. I mean, already black is busted here. I went Queen B5 like control. When you got a winning position, one of the key things is just to control the game. You know, don't let your opponent get any counterplay at all. Just sit on them. You know, and just stop them from getting out of the grip. You know, I think that's one of the keys with technical play. So Stan played Queen A7. Again, you know, you feel like it's a position where if he had had more counterplay, if there's something more to do, then he quite possibly would have got a result. But this position really offers black no counterplay at all. You know, so we didn't see the best of him in this game. I took on D5, he went check. Knight G5, and he resigned because now he's going to lose his second pawn, third pawn. So he's already 2 pawns down, I believe. Yeah, at the moment I've got 6, he's got 4, but F7 is now dropping. The only way to stop that is to go here. And now he's going to lose a third pawn. He has to go here, otherwise Queen E8 will take the pawn to check. And then it should be a fairly easy technical mop-up, right? Even for a player of my limited technical skills. I mean, black bishop is not going to ever get past that pawn chain. You can just go like H3, bring the knight back to G3. Once the knight enters the game, black will surely resign. Or even H3, G4, for example, is another option. You could even consider pushing the D pawn as well. There's no counterplay for black. So he resigned, which meant that I came equal first. I was very happy about that. I was really nervous about the game. I played against Peter Large. Drew. Game wasn't especially interesting. Maybe I can quickly show that game actually. This is the final position. I went Rook C8 and offered a draw. He'd offered a draw a couple of moves before I declined. And it's funny how when people offer you a draw, it kind of puts the seed of doubt in your mind. I should have played on here because black's not worse at all. His position probably more or less equal. Yeah, I thought like it was kind of a strategic decision. I think it worked out well for me because I won the final round. You know, and I would have probably been very tired if we'd have this game would have lasted for another 2 hours probably if we'd have carried on, regardless of result. And if I ended up losing it and playing for 2 hours, then you could imagine how I would have felt. I couldn't even then win the tournament. So it was kind of a strategic decision. There was one interesting moment actually earlier. I think he missed a chance around about here. Yeah, I think he could have gone Queen G4 and got a very nice position, attacking position. Because if I go G6, he just drop the Queen back to G3. And then his idea is like Bishop C2, a knight will come back to D3 anyway. If I castle, there's also Knight H5 on the cards. If I castle, I'm coming down with something here. Maybe it got COVID. Knight H5 is quite good. G6. I think the move like Bishop H6 is quite good. And then if Rook E8, then Bishop D5. So yeah, it's kind of a strategic decision. But if you're playing like someone like David Howe here, as black would not ever offer a draw in this position, like against the 2200. You know, and that's partly why he's sort of 2600. Obviously, he's a better player as well, right? But he would not have offered a draw here. He would have played on, and probably would have won the game. You know, like more or less whoever he's playing, unless he's playing someone like Magnus. If he's playing Magnus, he probably would have lost the game. You know, from either side. You know, so it's all about really, you know, how strong you are. But I would say that against Peter Large, I'm probably a slight favourite here. Although draw is also very likely. Draw, You know, he will win the game. You know, if we play it, if we simulate the game X amount of times, he would probably win from this position out of 100, maybe 20 times. You know, no, maybe 10 times, and like 60 times it'll be a draw, and then the other, my maths aren't very good, are they? Maybe 30 times I'll win or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I could have played on, and it was a wimpy decision to offer a draw. I got panicked. But yeah, Scarborough's been a successful tournament for me over the years. I think there's certain tournaments you have an affinity with, and certain places you have affinity with. I first played Scarborough, I believe it was in 1999. I write about that extensively in a book I wrote, which is called The Comfort Zone: The Keys to Your Success, which is published by Thinkers Publishing. And it's a good book. And yeah, I wrote about how this is one of the first British Championships I played. I was leading, I was a young guy, I was 23 at the time. I was leading with 4 out of 4, just beat John Ems with white. Very nice game, crushed him. Crushed John, which is like a rarity because, you know, generally I didn't crush John. He's a very solid player. And then I played Junior Hodgson in round 5. And he kind of did what I did to Stan Bandasconi. He played a very strategical game, kind of shut me down. And I lost that one. And then I just narrowly missed out on a GM norm. I lost in the last round to Nigel Davis. If I won that game, I'd have got a GM norm plus £3,000. I couldn't handle the pressure. But it planted the seeds of a good Scarborough. For me, it's been good for me over the years. I probably should have played it more times than I did. You know, I've been up north like over 15 years now. And I've only really played it about 4 or 5 times in that period, maybe 6 times. And I've generally won it more often than I haven't. But I could have played it maybe, you know, 10 or 12 times. And I could have, you know, it could have really wrapped up quite a number of victories in Scarborough Congress. And I kind of regret not doing that. But maybe I'll do that over the next few years. You know, I'll play Scarborough a few times. And I'll probably be battling with a lot of these kids, right? Like Stan, his brother, Ed Jackson, Billy Fellows. I'll look at that game in a later video. And yeah, it's tough when you're playing against these kids because you know, they've got no fear and they're super confident and they're very tactical and they're very well prepared. You know, they spend a lot of their time thinking about chess, which is what I used to do when I was younger. And now I'm like, I can't be bothered to even prepare. Yeah, Scarborough's a nice place. It's a beautiful place. I would suggest you play this. If you've never played Scarborough Congress, play the Scarborough Congress. Support the tournament. The entries are down this year. There are rough elements of the town in terms of the people. You know, I would say the economy's not doing great in Scarborough, or that's just the impression I get. You know, it kind of feels like it's like the same. It looked the same as it did when I first played, which was 24 years ago. The town looks exactly the same. It hasn't really moved on or modernised in any way, which is typical of a lot of beach resorts. The prize in the weekend congress is slightly higher than it was back then, but not by much. It was probably 400 or 500 back then. In the late 1990s, early 2000s, it's now 700. So that's some improvement. But yeah, I mean, I ate in the same Chinese restaurant that I believe I ate in 20 odd years ago. It's quite a nice Chinese restaurant. There's a big Chinese restaurant which is going towards the north side of it. I stayed in the North Bay kind of thing. But yeah, that was my round. I think I'm now coming down with something. I think I'll probably pick something up in Scarborough because I'm now feeling slightly under the weather doing this video. But again, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm not sure what my next chess event actually will be for NCL. And that's going to be tough because we're playing against Manx Liberty in the first match, which is like the top team in the league. So I'll be playing ball 1, probably against their best player. Might well be Shirov. But my recent form's pretty good, actually. I think my last 32 games, since losing to Daniel Fernandez in Ghent, without wanting to blow my own trumpet, I've played 32 games and I've drawn, I think 13 and won 19, which I'm pretty proud of. You know, for an aging past at GM to, you know. But on the other hand, I've only gained 13 points in that time frame. So I think a lot of it is you just got to man up and actually play these games out. If I manned up and played a lot of these games out, I might have even racked up even more points. You know, there were a few draws in there that possibly I could have just played on. And but yeah, given the players that I'm playing against, I do need to rack up a huge score. And even then, you're not gaining that many points. It's difficult now because you're playing against a vastly underrated player. Like, just to give you an example, Stan is 28-20 on League Chess, which is an amazing rating. He's 2,000 at FIDE. He's much better than 2,000. He's 2,200 at ECF. That's probably a better reflection. His potential is enormous, you know, and a lot of these juniors, they've got potential to be GM. It's all down to them, how much time they put in, whether they want it, they can get it, right? If they want it enough, they'll get it. So anyway, that was my Scarborough roundup. I'll do some more videos on Scarborough later in the week and post them up online. Certainly the round 1 and round 3 games, round 2, they're all quite interesting as well. So I'll look at those games as well. But yeah, thanks for watching again. Please subscribe to my channel. Don't have many subscribers. I'm a small YouTuber, desperately trying to grow with my terrible analysis and my terrible singing. That's it.